Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Whittle's Read. Today I'm doing something a little bit different, as you can see from the different setting, which is literally 10 feet from where I normally shoot my videos. But this video, I'm just going to give fair warning, is going to be a little bit less about particular books and more about just reading in general. So it's going to be more of a talky video. So if that's not your thing, that's fine. Feel free to see me in the next one. But what I want to talk about is just a few goals and just a few changes in the way I read and want to read in the future. As you can see from the title, changing my reading habits. And the thing that spurred this on, the thing that brought all of this on, was two separate factors. The first being, I did a video the other day, which was a rapid-fire book tag, which was far more engaging than I thought it would be. It asked some really brilliant questions about the books I like and, why you like them. And me being the idiot I am, originally this rapid-fire video was 30 minutes long because I had to go into these massive justifications as to why I made those decisions. Thankfully, I cut most of that out. But I still did have this really in-depth discussion with myself as to why I like things, and it really made me introspect more than I have before. And the second thing that happened was that I decided to try to take writing more seriously. I won't go into my full writing history here. It is brief and uneventful, but it is something I've been doing for a little while, and now that I'm doing it more seriously, I want my reading to serve that. And so that's another thing that has really spurred it on. And now, both of those things, what both of those have done, have really made me look at what I read and why I read it. I just got so taken away in the joy of reading again, after not reading for so long, that I just read anything, and I was happy to read things even if I didn't see why I should, things that I thought, oh, this might be fun. Things that people were talking about. Things that were enjoyable reads, but books I couldn't point to and say, what exactly it is I learnt from this. But of course, this is just for me. Reading doesn't always have to serve a purpose. You can just read for entertainment's sake. But I don't want to. I really want my books to serve a purpose. And, that is talking about the books I choose to read and a purpose they serve me, but also the point of the book internally. What that video made me really realize is the books I love are ones that are trying to make a very central point. It's not just stories for story's sake. It's not sci-fi where you're just out in the stars, or fantasy where you're just in this world. It's not escapism. It's actually the opposite, if anything. The question in that video that really made me think was real world or fictional worlds? And my answer was fictional worlds that are meant to mirror real worlds. And a few of the examples I gave, well, the ones that come to mind now are Left Hand of Darkness, Dune, 1984, Fahrenheit 451. Those are some of the best books of all time, and they're some of my favourite books. And the reason is because they're not just there for some fun escapism. They are also fun, that's the other thing, but there's something more to them, and they have made me think, and they have done something for me other than just being an escape. And how this fits into my writing is, those are the things I want to write, and those are the things I therefore want to emulate. I want to write something that makes a point. And that is a difficult thing to do, especially because it's so easy, especially for me, to accidentally write something that is just self-indulgent, pretentious slop. So just looking at well-written books that manage to make points without dragging the entire story down with them, those are the books I want to read. That isn't to say I shouldn't read books that are entertaining, because every book should be entertaining, even ones that do make some greater point. If you make a point, but no one listens to it, no one reads it because the book is so damn boring, you've wasted everyone's time. It has to be a combination of the two, but it does have to have both of those. I want to read books that are trying to say something. And it doesn't have to be some really obvious science fiction point. There are so many books which make brilliant points, which are contemporary. Books like Paul Takes the Form of a Mortal Girl, which explores the LGBTQ culture in the 90s in the US. And that's a very profound thing and a meaningful thing, and talks about things that aren't talked about enough. And so it doesn't have to be some, geopolitical big point. It can just be a situational thing. It can just be something that talks about something that hasn't been talked about and needs to. It's a book I can point to and say, I can see why they wrote that particular thing. Not why it wasn't arbitrary. They had to make that point, and the only way they could do it is through those characters in those situations. I'm getting a bit too rambly now, so I'm going to try to move on. The other way it's affected my reading habits is I want to read a bit less, which sounds shocking. It sounds like the opposite of what I should do. But I want to read more meaningfully. And what that might mean is, not just trying to read to read. I'll do a whole other video on why I read in particular. But, reading in itself is not the most enjoyable act for me. The thing that really makes reading enjoyable is when there's a line or a quote that I point to and just go, oh my God, this is incredible. This is an incredible point. I run to get the tabs, I run to get a pencil, anything just to try to mark it down because this is a line I don't want to forget. That rush of just knowing you're experiencing art and just talented writing is what drives me to read books. And what I want to try to read are the books that I feel have a higher percentage chance of delivering that to me. And so there are some books which I feel could have been that had I just read them better. Both of those being Bunyat. Slaughterhouse-Five and Sirens of Titan. The text is so palatable and so direct that whilst it's describing things that are very abstract, you can just read it and not really understand what's going on and just kind of understand points that are being made that you don't care about and just get through the book in an afternoon. But that's really not the point. And so I've read both of these books, which I've had to then sit down after the fact and analyze, when I could have been doing that at the same time. I could have been sitting down and after reading a few pages gone, what's the point that's being made here? Why is it being made and why is it so good? And I was able to do that all after the fact. I had to look up forums to try to decide why the book I read, like why I knew it was good but couldn't put it into words because I just hadn't paid enough attention. And so paying attention to the books I'm reading is something I want to do. And then the third and final thing is, the actual books themselves. The biggest change is I'm going to start reading books like these, books on writing, including this book, On Writing, by Stephen King. And this one is Bird by Anne Lamott. Neither of these were my first choice, actually. My first choices were Ursula Le Guin's Words of My Matter, because obviously I love Ursula Le Guin, and the other one, Ray Bradbury's Zen and the Art of Writing. Neither of those I could find the bookstores I went to. Stephen King's book should have been higher on my list. I avoided it at first because Stephen King isn't exactly the author I want to emulate, because I do think a lot of his books are more about entertainment, even if it is entertainment through absolute disgusting horror, which is not an insult. I love that stuff. People I really, really look up to in writing, like Margaret Atwood. One of her most recent tweets when I looked up her account was, get this book, it's amazing. And I was like, okay, if Margaret Atwood says it's great, it must be great. As for this one, I'm not familiar with the author, but appears on almost every list, and I feel like it's a good look into the writing life and an understanding of what it means to be a writer. And whilst I am not planning on, abandoning my life, moving to the hills and just taking a typewriter with me and becoming a hermit writer, it's still worthwhile and useful to know what it is exactly I'm getting myself into, and the kind of people I will be interacting with, and what I should probably aim for, and definitely what I should avoid. And so, books like this. So, that's really the most material thing I can point to and say, this will be a difference. But to round this all up, thank you very much for sticking around for what has been a very talky video. I want to read books with a purpose. I want to read books I want to emulate. I want to pay more attention to the books I read. That might mean I read less, and that's okay. And I want to read books on writing that help me develop my writing. And as for you, the viewer, this will change the channel slightly, because I don't just want to post TBRs and just buy books and show books off. I want to do what I started this channel for and talk about the books I'm reading, which is something I haven't been doing as much. And that might mean videos come out less because, I'm going to take my time reading the books. It means that there will be a slight shift in the content. I'll still include all the other stuff because books are just fun. I still like books, but I've just been really running this channel as an emulation of the people I have enjoyed watching, who are people I still love watching, but are not who I wanted to be and not what I wanted to do this for. So taking it a bit more in an analysis direction, and a bit more not about books as a physical object, but about the writing and the content of the books I'm reading, that will be far more of the direction I want to go in the future. Hopefully that sounds like something you'll enjoy, and if this is a video you enjoyed watching, please do leave a comment saying so, or liking it, either way. because I'm quite nervous to post this video because I'm afraid this is something that everyone will hate and no one will be interested in. If I'm wrong, please prove me wrong. And thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm at like 23 subscribers, I think, at this point, and I just want to thank absolutely everyone who has subscribed, even though it's such a small number. Just knowing that there are people who care and people who are actually interested in my books and what I want to say is just lovely, and I check my notifications for every single subscriber, and so I know everyone who subscribes, and I just want to thank you all personally for subscribing. And I hope that me trying to make content a bit more authentic to my relationship with books doesn't scare you away. But if it does, that's also fine. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.